Seahawks, and welcome back to Seahawk Central. I'm Emma Tillman with news.
And I'm Davis Bell with sports.
This week, we're hitting on UNCW's advancement into the NCAA tournament, a benefit concert held for a special UNCW student housing dilemmas, and men's tennis and baseball. The UNCW men's basketball team is headed to Wichita, Kansas to play in the NCAA tournament for the first time in 8 years. The Seahawks earned a number 14 seed and faced 3 seed Texas Tech on Thursday, March 20th at 10:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Last weekend, hundreds of students and fans gathered in Trask Coliseum on Selection Sunday to see when and where the Seahawks would play in the tournament, and the energy was hot, likely still steaming from the Seahawks CAA tournament title win in Washington, D.C. 2 weeks prior. And speaking of that win, I spoke with a student who encountered the game on press row. Here's how Ryan Weiner described the court after the final buzzer sealed the championship win.
I think when the final buzzer hit, I got up out of my seat so fast, I knocked into a Delaware photographer. I said, "I'm so sorry." I packed my bag as soon as I could and ran on the court. The emotions were high. These guys coming from all different parts of the country, had accomplished their goal and won the conference, for the first time since 2017.
Now, back in Trask, the players and coaches walked out onto the court to take a seat before the bracket viewing began, and the fans cheered accordingly, giving them both praise and good luck for the March Madness ahead. Head coach Takeo Siddle shared a few words at the bracket viewing, honing in on the importance of his team staying focused and not getting complacent in their upcoming games. March Madness kicks off on the 18th, and the championship game falls on April 6th. All games can be streamed on March Madness Live. Good luck, Seahawks, and let's go dancing. Next, let's hear Emily with more on a benefit concert last weekend.
Thanks, Emma. That's right. A benefit concert held last Friday, March 14th, raised over $5,000 for Mahmoud, a local UNCW student whose family has been displaced by the war in Gaza. The Rebuild with Love benefit was organized by ILM for Peace in Palestine and brought the community together to show support. The event took place at Bougie Nights on Princess Street downtown. Local businesses also showed their support, including the Cape Fear Jazz Society and Memory Lane Comics, an alumni-owned business. The night featured performances by several local musicians, such as the Jacob Ross Quartet, special guest musician Max Iapolucci, and the ILM Ceasefire Choir. Mahmoud shared his personal story and performed 2 songs, including a powerful rendition of 7 Years by Lucas Graham, reflecting on his childhood in war-torn Palestine.
7 years old. It is a big cruel world, life under occupation.
Mahmoud's family, which consists of a total of 22 members, has faced unimaginable hardship. Most of their homes were destroyed and 1 single apartment remains standing. All of the funds raised will go directly to the family in Gaza and help them rebuild. Overall, the event was a heartfelt reminder of the power of community coming together in times of need. For more information, visit the organization's Instagram page at ILM Peace for Palestine. Now over to you, Stephanie.
Thanks, Emily. As UNCW struggles to accommodate increasing enrollment numbers, the university is faced with a housing shortage. This forces upperclassmen to live off campus and fend for themselves in an already tight rental market. With the average rent in Wilmington being around $1,300, some students find themselves in financial hardships just to complete their education. We hear from Catalina Neri Gonzalez, a sophomore at UNCW who, just like most of us, is left to scramble for housing while juggling her education.
When I first found out that I wasn't going to be able to live on campus next year, I felt very unsupported by UNCW. I feel like they expected us to have it all figured out the minute that they told us the news. But realistically, for me personally, it felt very overwhelming and in a way kind of like betrayed, because I thought that coming here, I was going to have a place to call home and to be able to live. I don't think that it's fair that they expect us to all of a sudden find a place off campus just because we are all on different financial capabilities on our own. And a lot of students, I'm pretty sure, share the same story as me, to where we don't have a lot to depend on when searching for off-campus housing. And I just don't think that it's fair that all of a sudden our needs have to be cut down to meet other people's needs, which I think the whole sense of equity is what we're missing here. I think that having to move off campus is going to negatively impact my college experience. just because I'm used to being on campus and being able to walk to Centro Hispano, being able to walk to the library and classes and such. So now having to move off campus is gonna limit my accessibility to those resources that I feel that are most helpful to me. And I also feel that it's just gonna mess with my mental health and having to juggle work and making time for classes, all the heavy classes that I have to take. So it's definitely gonna take a toll on me, but it's one that I'm not really given an option to take. My biggest concern for living off campus for the first time is having to find the ability to afford to live. I think is my biggest one because I'm a part-time worker already and a student, full-time student. So I have a little more leniency with my schedule right now because everything that I do is on campus. But now that I have to go off campus and have to afford rent, I'm even considering picking up like 2 other jobs and having to manage those 2 jobs along with all my other classes that I have to take. I am a rising junior, so I'm taking the more harder classes now. So having to find the time to fit everything that I have to still do for my degree and being able to get a job to be able to afford rent is one of my biggest concerns just because of the time. I feel like there's just not enough time in the day to get everything done.
Now, on the flip side, we hear from resident assistant at Plato's Lofts, Caitlin Wallace-Giddens, who tells us her point of view on the housing shortage and more.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely hear from all of you guys about how it's challenging to find housing around the Wilmington area. I experienced it last semester, raising prices and not being able to afford the things that you really actually want to do for fun. So it's definitely heavily impacted them negatively. I mean, I wish I was a student that was still able to live on campus. So prayers out to them. I wouldn't be able to afford housing if I didn't have help myself. So I think for the families that are not making enough, that the situation's really difficult for them. And for students that don't have the luxury of having a car or living outside that mile radius, it can be very challenging to navigate the busing system. I ride my bike and I walk, but I've heard a lot from you guys that it's very challenging and it doesn't show up on time all the time. I know from my own experience, I find it very difficult to get to on-campus events and things like that that are happening before 5 o'clock. If I can't be on campus, I try not to be because I don't want to pay for parking. It's expensive and honestly, you can't find a parking spot. So it's really made it so I have to try a lot harder to be able to have events here at Plato's Loft because people don't want to go to campus anymore and aren't participating anymore. I mean, I hear from you guys that you're no longer part of clubs anymore, you're no longer part of sports anymore because you're not there anymore. I think that these changes were implemented at the start of last year, last semester, I guess. So they started really heavily decreasing the number of upperclassmen that could qualify for on-campus housing. That's why we were able to only obtain 1 building that was able to house juniors and seniors. So the rest of us that wanted to live on campus, we didn't get that opportunity. I applied to live on campus and I ended up finding out a week before finals hit that I didn't get it. So with this year, I think it was a little bit more prepared because I was in the loop, because I was asking the questions for you guys, because I had been in your shoes. So I definitely think that if I wasn't asking the right questions, then maybe it would have been a little bit more difficult for you guys, but definitely this semester was a lot more organized than I felt.
The UNCW housing shortage is definitely something all students should keep in mind. And if you're looking to live off campus within the next year, check out UNCW's website at uncw.edu/livingoffcampus. To keep in touch with other students searching for off-campus living, be sure to check out the various Facebook groups that serve as a resource for students looking for apartments in the Wilmington area.
Thank you, Stephanie and Davis. Like always, what's new with sports?
Well, Emma, as you mentioned at the top of our show, the biggest story in sports right now is the UNCW men's basketball team. Last week, the Seahawks traveled to Washington, D.C. for the CAA Conference Tournament. In their first matchup, they faced the 10-seeded Hampton Pirates, who beat UNCW just a few weeks ago at Hampton. However, this matchup swung back in the Seahawks' favor, resulting in a 79-65 win. It was the Seahawks' defense that shined most, holding Hampton's two best scorers to just 21 combined points on 8 of 28 shooting. Then in the semifinals, the Seahawks faced their rivals, the Charleston Cougars. It was a tough and grimy game where neither team shot over 40% from the field, but once again, the Seahawks emerged victorious, this time by a slim 68-67 margin. Once again, the Seahawks defense shined, holding Ante Brezovic to just 11 points and 4 rebounds. For those counting, that's a clean 3-0 sweep for the Seahawks over the Cougars, 5 wins in a row, and an 8-3 record for Coach Siddle against Charleston. And revenge for the 2023 CAA championship game where the Cougars beat the Seahawks. However, despite that incredible win over our rivals, the job was not done. UNCW took on a red-hot 12 seed for the CAA championship with the Delaware Blue Hens. Delaware's star freshman went off for 21 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists. However, it was Donovan Newby's 17 points that carried the Seahawks to the top of the mountain, where they were crowned CAA champions for the first time since 2017. With that championship now behind them, the Seahawks prepare for the NCAA tournament, where they take on the 3-seed Texas Tech Red Raiders. For a more in-depth look at the Seahawks run and an NCAA tournament preview, check out this week's In the Hoop, where Ryan Weiner and I break down everything happening in CAA basketball. However, that wasn't all Seahawks athletics has been up to lately. Let's head over to Ismail and check in on Seahawk tennis.
Thanks, Davis. The UNCW men's tennis team went up against William & Mary yesterday afternoon. In singles competition, junior Alex De Gabriel was the first player to finish his match, winning both sets 6-2, earning his first win of the season. Sam Nicholson earned his 4th win of the season with a dominant performance on court 2, and Wananad and Domenech ended up getting their 2nd win in the doubles. On court 4, junior Luca Steffen helped clinch the win for UNCW by winning 7-5 in the first set and 6-1 in the second set. The Seahawks end up getting a dominant victory over the Tribe 6-1. The Seahawks' next game will be against NJIT on Thursday at 2. Now heading over to Dylan for some baseball news.
Thanks, Ishmael, and welcome back, Seahawk Nation. Hope you all had a wonderful break. We've got a lot to cover while you were gone. 3 ranked teams, 3 weekend series, and 3 Carolina teams. I'm your host, Dylan Thompson, and this is Seahawks Slugger. We kick things off with a trip to Conway, South Carolina, where the Hawks took on the 24th ranked Coastal Carolina. An RBI from Trevor Lucas early in the second gave a lead for the Hawks until a loud 7th inning from Coastal went their way, totaling 5 runs. Despite good pitching from Connor Marshburn and Baker Cox, the Hawks fell on the road with a 6-1 final. Swinging back home for the kickoff of spring break, Brooksfield and the Hawks welcomed the Liberty Flames. Game 1 was a tough battle from both teams. It was a dominant effort at the plate with a 3-hit game from Tanner Thatch, who with teammate Trevor Lucas combined for 4 RBIs. Zane Taylor helped on the mound with 8 total strikeouts to help deliver a 6-3 win. Game 2 against the Flames was a quick flip of the script. Liberty scored 3 runs in the 5th and were excellent on the mound, preventing any Seahawks on base. The Hawks' 2 runs early were not enough as the Flames evened the series with the Game 2 win. With the series on the line in Game 3, the Hawks delivered. Leading by 2 early, Matt Gillespie and Brian Ardent came in clutch with a pair of RBIs of their own. Martin Zelenka was able to put his name in the hat as well with an RBI of his own, giving 5 runs for the Hawks. A strong performance by freshman pitcher Cam Bagwell put out the Liberty Flame, putting down consecutive players and only allowing 2 runs. A team effort Game 3 gave the win and the series to the Hawks with a dominant 5-3 win. A weekend series win set up for another early week test with a matchup in Louisiana against the Ragin' Cajuns. The spice of this game kicked off early with a home run from Kevin Jones in the first, an RBI single in the third, and a score from Brian Ardent in the fourth. The Ragin' Cajuns were able to respond with plays of their own that eventually led to their lead late in the 6th. The Hawks were able to get it back to a 1-run game, but the Ragin' Cajuns shut down the run with bases loaded, leading to a Seahawks 6-5 loss. The Hawks would keep their weekend series down south in Hattiesburg, Mississippi for a key series against the 20th ranked Golden Eagles of Southern Mississippi. Down early in Game 1, the Hawks made a quick run. A hitting streak from Bromley Thornton continued with an early home run followed by an RBI triple from Kevin Jones and an RBI from Tanner Thatch, giving the Hawks the early jump. Another pitching performance from Zane Taylor and Trace Baker were a huge difference in the game with a combined 10 strikeouts and 3 total runs allowed. Alec DiMartino would add to the lead in the 5th with a 2-run homer of his own, with another RBI from Tanner Thatch in the 8th, which was enough to give the Hawks a 6-3 Game 1 win. Game 2 was a barn burner on both sides with excellent pitching from both teams. A stellar performance from Connor Marshburn kept the game close until a late walk-off run in the 9th was enough to give the Golden Eagles the 2-1 win. Another third game against the Golden Eagles would go their way as the bats were hot for Southern Mississippi. A team total of 9 hits were not enough for the Seahawks late in the 3rd for their push in the 7th as the Golden Eagles would take the series at home with a 7-4 final. The Hawks returned home early for an early matchup, this time against the 6th-ranked North Carolina Tar Heels. With a sellout crowd of over 3,200 people, it was sure to be a game to watch. The Seahawks kicked things off with a bang, starting with a 2-run home run from Tanner Thatch to take the first early in the lead. A double from Trevor Lucas in the 5th brought in another score to lead 3-1. The Tar Heels would rally back with runs of their own, leading to extra innings at Brooks Field. The Heels would break the deadlock, totaling 4 runs in the 10th, which was enough to take this game from the Hawks. After a tough battle of one Carolina team, another opportunity rose for a weekend against the Charlotte 49ers. The Hawks faced an early deficit in Game 1 until their chance at the plate came in the 5th inning. A Kevin Jones double led to the first score, followed by a triple from Tanner Thatch that brought in 2 runs. The next at-bat gave the Hawks a 6-4 lead thanks to a 3-run bomb from Martin Zelenka. The Hawks were not done yet. A great job on the mound from a number of Seahawks such as Zane Taylor, Ty Lawson, and Connor Kane kept the 49ers off the scoreboard. The Hawks would score 5 more unanswered runs with a contribution from Alec DiMartino, Trevor Lucas, Whit Thatch, and Zelenka once again. The unanswered runs were enough to give the Hawks the 11-4 victory in Game 1. Game 2 went the Niners' way with a strong push from Charlotte in the 7th. The 2 runs in the 1st and 3rd were not enough for the Hawks to hold as the 49ers escaped with a 5-2 win. An important Game 3 for the series was all the difference for both teams. Entering the 5th inning tied, the Seahawks broke the lead. Martin Zelenka's single in the 5th brought in 2 scores to take the 5-4 lead. Brady Thompson would cement the lead with a double late in the 8th to bring in another run and take the lead by 2. Pitching relievers Cooper Allen and Kyle Phelan shut out the 49ers on the mound with a combined 8 strikeouts and 0 runs allowed. The Hawks took Game 3 and the series with an impressive 6-4 win. The busy schedule from the Seahawks brings the team's record to 10-10 and look to build to this win. The Seahawks will be on the road this week as they will take on 2 Carolina teams again. UNCW will be facing the East Carolina Pirates first before a series matchup against the Campbell Fighting Camels. Well, that wraps up my time and coverage here on the Seahawks Slugger. I'm your host, Dylan Thompson. Go Hawks, and we'll see you next time. Back to you, Davis.
Thanks, Dylan. We're always glad to hear about Seahawk basketball. Well, that wraps things up for us here on Seahawk Central.
And if you're tuning in on YouTube, check us out on Instagram at UNCW Seahawk Central News.
And while you're on Instagram, be sure to follow Seahawk Central Sports _UNCW for all our exclusive content. I'm Davis Bell with Sports.
And I'm Emma Tillman with the news. We'll see you next time.